TV, and for those of you that don't know me, my name is Bob Pattison. I'm the Executive Vice President of Lucas Oil Products. I'm the President of MAV TV, and I'm second in command behind Forrest Lucas with regards to all Lucas properties. Today I speak on behalf of Forrest Lucas, myself, Tom Frederickson, and everybody in the Lucas Oil Organization of Families. We're at a crossroads with our sport. There's a lot at stake, and the decisions that we make and how we finish out this season are going to be critical to our future. The reason you're here today is I'm asking for your support for this series, and I'm asking you not to support TORC. And that's a very strong statement. It may not be a politically correct statement, but it's an important statement, and I want you to understand why. I'm not standing up here lightly, and this is not a personal matter, although I take this sport very personally. It is a business matter that affects the series, and it affects you as race teams. I want to give you a little background on Lucas Oil that some of you may not know. We've been involved in short course off-road racing since 1994, when it was called SOTA, Short Course Off-Road Drivers Association, well before Carl Rennezetter ever became a driver in short course. I was sitting back there last night in my motorhome trying to summarize what Lucas has invested in this sport over the last 18 years. For those of you that remember, Exxon Superflow used to be the series of short course. They were the series sponsor. They pulled out abruptly. This was when Marty Reed owned it. Jamie Debney at that time was working for Marty Reed. They were 3 hours from closing their doors, going bankrupt, and throwing in the towel on short course racing. Jamie called me from a truck stop and said, "Bob, Marty's just given everybody notice that we have no more money, and today is everyone's last day." He goes, "If we don't have money in our bank account to cover payroll and to fulfill obligations that we have to pay on Monday, short course racing is done." And this was, I think, in 1998. I'm not certain. So Lucas Oil stepped up. We gave them the money they needed to continue, and short course survived. Well, later on down the road, Jim Baldwin came in. He changed the complexion of short course and took it to the West Coast. Well, that left a lot of racers in the Midwest with nowhere to go. Doug Davies and Cliff Flannery came to me at that time and said, "Bob, we don't have any money. We don't have any TV. Baldwin's taken everything. Can Lucas help us?" Lucas Oil stepped up, and we became the title sponsor of what used to be called the World Series of Off-Road Racing, for the benefit of all those people in the Midwest that couldn't afford to come out and race on the West Coast with Jim Baldwin and his new structure. That was the second time Lucas Oil stepped in to support this series. The third time was when Baldwin failed, and he abruptly pulled the plug. What was short course going to be? It was in a state of chaos. Forrest Lucas, Tom, my wife Dawn, we sat down and we said, "Look, we've been in this sport for a long time. Can it be saved? What should we do?" And I'll be honest with you, Forrest looked at me and says, "Bob, what do you think?" And I said, "I think we need to get the hell out and cut our losses," because I saw that short course was managed poorly by a bunch of people that were short-sighted, no vision for the future on how to build the sport, and all they were concerned about is how they could monetize it and put the most amount of money in their pocket. So we took a vote. Forrest, Tom, Tony, my wife, they voted, "Let's give it a try." I voted against it, and I'll be honest with you. But he came to me and said, "Bob, do you think this can be saved? Do you think we can change it?" And I said, "Yeah, I think we can. This is what we do. We own and operate 5 racing series. We own and operate several racetracks, several race teams. We have the structure in place, the promoters, the television, the sales and marketing, the sanctioning body. This is what we do for a living. This is a big part of our business model. So, being the good Lucas soldier, I jumped in, and when a decision is made, everybody at Lucas Oil gets behind it, and we march forward together. Well, what we and I added up the money, and I stopped because it was making my head spin. Over the last 18 years, we've invested over $20 million in keeping short course racing alive through the form of team sponsorships, series sponsorships, single one-off events to make things special, points purses that there was no money to pay drivers, so we came in and we made good on points series checks that were going to bounce. We invested heavily in TV assets so we could produce the best TV package that exists in motorsports, second to NASCAR, and that's no bull. If you look at the television hours that are devoted to short course off-road racing and the prominent networks that we're on, nobody has a better TV package than NASCAR. We're better than Formula One, Le Mans, NHRA, we're it. Now, having said that, we have to make a decision. TORC is coming into our playground. We never went back to the Midwest and tried to run an event in their area. And I want to dispel one other rumor before I go on to the next point. There's always this rumor that Lucas doesn't want to work with us. They don't want to talk with us. They don't want us in their series. I'll tell you right now, that's bullshit. It's true now, but it wasn't true 2 years ago. I spoke personally with Jeremy Myers on the phone, the head of AMSOIL Motorsports Marketing, and to throw out a goodwill gesture, I said, Jeremy, I will give Scott Douglas free admission to all of our races. I will give him a free onboard camera, and I will guarantee you he will have one interview in every show we produce as a show of good faith that if you come out and run with us, you will be treated fairly and honestly as every other team in our series. It was flat out declined with a polite FU, all right? Those are the facts, guys. Now, they're coming into our area and they're trying to poach our drivers, they're trying to poach our fans, and they're doing it because they have not been able to succeed in the Midwest. You look at their events, their truck counts are low, their fan counts are low, and they're in a state of disorganization. They're coming out here trying to capitalize on what we've built together over the last 4 years. I'll tell you what, I'm not going to stand for it. It's not right, and I'm not going to stand for it. And they're doing it under the guise of, let's do this memorial for Rick Huseman, all right? That's nothing more than a ploy to play that sympathy card to get you guys out there to run that event to see if they can get a foothold in our territory. Rick Huseman is a great guy. He deserves to be honored. He deserves to be respected. He was a hell of a racer. He was a hell of an ambassador for the sport, and he was a good family man. And we've done a lot to help support him and his family, and we will continue to do so. But I will not, under any circumstances, take his good name and his family's name and use it for commercial gain and a scam business ploy. And that's how I view it. It's shameful. We can honor Rick in our own way, but we're not going to do it this way. I'm in some very high-level discussions with CBS. I'm dealing with Sean McManus, who is the top man at CBS Sports Programming. He is in charge of all sports programming on all CBS properties. I'm dealing with Rob Correa, who is the head of CBS Broadcast Network, the big Channel 2. I'm dealing with Dan Weinberg, who's in charge of CBS Sports Network, and I'm dealing with Billy Stone, the executive producer of short course off-road racing for CBS. They love what's going on here. They see our ratings growing. They see our television programming improving with this new style programming that profiles drivers. We're gaining momentum. We have a 3-year deal with CBS Sports Network. Our deal with CBS Broadcast Network expires at the end of this year. They want to revise the contracts and wrap them into one so that we will legitimately be part of their sports spectacular content. That puts us up there with PGA Golf, world-class tennis, and all their other major properties. That is huge. This is what we've worked for so many years. We are on the threshold of becoming a prominent national motorsports property. But I tell you, it won't happen if we allow our truck count to be diluted and if we allow our fan count to be diluted. Because every television contract gives the network an opt-out clause. If your program is no longer pulling the ratings, if you no longer have a quality show with the requisite number of trucks, if you don't have full grandstands, if you don't have all the bells and whistles that make you look professional, they have the right to terminate our contract on 60 days' notice. So by allowing our sport to be diluted by poachers, and that's what they are, they're nothing more than poachers, we stand to lose everything we work so hard. And if we lose it, it's not coming back. I've worked my ass off to get here. I've been to New York more times than I care to count. We are there. I mean, we are that close to locking this deal up. But if we let it slip away, then shame on us. Shame on all of us. This is why I'm making this statement, and this is why I'm dead serious. You're free to do what you want. You all have the right to go wherever you would like to go. But I'm asking for your support. Lucas Oil has always been here when the series has needed us, and now we need you. We need each and every one of you to stand behind us and make this work. And one last question that comes up is, why don't you just work with TORC? Why don't you bring it all together? And quite frankly, the answer is simple. There's nothing there we need, and there's nothing there I want. We have the best management team in the world, as far as I'm concerned, from the top down. We have the support of Forrest Lucas, who is passionate about this sport. Lucas Oil has the money. We have the television equipment. We have the television time. We have Tony Vanillo and his staff that I think run a top-notch professional series. We have the best insurance. We have the best promotional department that has gone out and brought in other sponsors, Continental Tire, E3 Spark Plugs, Rockstar, all these sponsors that you see. And we have more coming in. All these sponsors that have been on the sidelines kind of wondering what to do, what the sport's going to do, they're coming on board now, guys. We are there. We have proved ourselves that this is for real. That's why we're not working with TORC. We don't need them. Lucas Oil is independently owned, we are vertically integrated, and we have the best staff, the best people, and the best equipment in the business. We're going to control our own destiny, and we're going to do it our way because we have a business model that has proven to be successful for over 25 years. So I know this is a lot to take in. I'll say it again when we get to Glen Helen. I'll say it again when we get to Reno. And feel free to quote me on this. We're fighting for the future of short course, and the gloves are off. The gloves are off. We've got too much at stake. We've worked too hard to get this far, and I'll be damned if I'm going to let a group of poachers come in and take it away from us. So I'm asking for your help. Kyle?
My feeling is I'm not going there for TORC. I'm going there for Rick and Jeff Huseman.
Say it again.
I'm going there for Rick and Jeff Huseman, not for TORC.
Well, like I said, you're free to choose what you do. My opinion, and I agree, honoring Rick Huseman is a good thing. I think we can do it in our own way. But every truck that we send to support them is one less truck that we have running here. And you have confusion, and this is part of what's held the sport back, is you have confusion of trucks here, trucks there, personalities here, personalities there. There's not that much equipment to go around. There are not that many pro drivers to go around. A classic example is Nick Tyree. He went and ran the last Crandon event. He was in a serious wreck. He got hurt. He's not with us today. All right, we're down a driver. That happens 2 or 3 times during the course of the year. Our truck count goes down. And in the eyes of CBS, there's a big-ass difference between having 20 trucks on a truck versus 17, and right now we're getting into that dicey zone. We dropped to 15, we dropped to 12, and I guarantee you guys are going to drop us. And if that happens, all these sponsors that are loving our TV package, they're going to start losing interest. Yes?
Tyree was back there trying to be a better driver.
Excuse me?
Tyree was back there to be a better driver, trying to get more racing experience so he could come out here and be better.
But the point is, he's not here today. So I'm telling you why we're doing this. You don't have to agree. You don't have to agree, but I'm telling you what we're standing for. Kurt?
All of us have a lot of respect for what you're saying. There is no doubt. Everybody in part of their brain is agreeing with you 1,000%. I would like this race, 5 years down the road, to look back and say, this race that's got your hackles up, people in this pit, people in this sport, people with television concern, might be the very beginning of one series. And I would like, instead of putting 99% of your effort into not having any participation, take 1% of it and say, what if this one event made that other series go away? What if this one event made Lucas series go race at Crandon, the birthplace of this sport? All these series that Lucas owns failed at a different level. Lucas didn't invent tractor pulling or invent sprint cars, but they took series that had failed and put your plan on it. So what if this one event that's got everybody thinking is the catalyst to create this vision that you guys have? There was nobody here that would love anything better than that, to have one series with Lucas running it. So let everybody just think about 1% of what they could do personally as a team, talking about it, that could make this one event become the future of our sport. And I think you're betting, if you go 100% in the direction that you're talking about, your goal is the same thing, to have one series. So that's all I want to say. Just 1% of your thought to this is the beginning of the future.
Well, I've thought about that, and to be honest, if I thought that were possible, I would be more inclined to lean that direction. However, I have met with Mike Jenkins and Cliff Flannery on several occasions. We have a serious disagreement in the philosophy of how this sport should be ran and the direction it should go. So if I thought that this would bring us together and that there would be one sport operating under the Lucas Oil umbrella, I would embrace it more vigorously than I am. I think, and this is my opinion, I think that the memorial for Rick, the concept is a good idea, but I view it as a business ploy to try and pull the sympathy card to get people to come on and run the race, and I think they're doing it as a test to see if they can get a foothold in our area and start pulling drivers into their series. If I thought that there was a good faith position on their part that they wanted to merge, if they wanted to have Lucas Oil run the series, then my thought process would be different. But we sat down with Jenkins in my office, and I sat down with him in Vegas, and we proposed that, and he flat out said no.
Hey Tom, can you try again? Because I believe it'll work. You need to try again. I'm on both sides, and you need to try again. I think it'll work.
I will talk to him.
And they're not doing this race. This race, they're not pulling the Rick Huseman card. That race was happening, and then all of a sudden Scott Douglas came up with, hey, we were all in Texas last year when he died, and we were all crying.
Well, I understand that, and here's my thought on that. And I'm not saying you're wrong, Rob. And if there was a point of having another conversation, then I would consider it. I've had two very frank conversations with Jenkins. Forrest was there, Tom was there, and it was a very unequivocal no. And we left.
I'm in the middle of it, and I think you need to try. And I'd like to be involved so that I can truly, I see both sides, and I think you guys can get together. And Kurt said it great, what he just said. We need to run this race and try to make it be one.
Well, if I thought that were the true purpose behind it, I might be more enthusiastic. But I'm willing to have a conversation. But with Rick Huseman and this event, if it were truly designed to honor Rick in the way it was intended, then I think we would have been contacted. Somebody would have reached out to Lucas Oil, they would have reached out to Tony or somebody and said, look, we're trying to do something good for the sport. We're trying to do something good for Rick Huseman. I would like for you to consider being part of it and endorsing it. There was no contact whatsoever. We learned about it from a press release after it was already said and done. So there was no contact saying, hey, can you embrace this sport and get your people behind it and work with us? We learned about it through a press release. So it makes me suspect as to what the true motives are. Now, you're all adults, you're all businessmen, you're free to do what you choose, and if you think, Rob, there's a point in having another conversation, then we'll certainly have another conversation. But the reality is, Lucas Oil is going to continue to do business the way we know how. I'm not interested in a merger or a partnership. If they want Lucas Oil to come in and take over operating and running one national series, which I think is good for everybody, it'll take our television package to a whole new level. I think it'll bring sponsors into the sport that have been on the sidelines trying to see how all this mess is going to shake out. I'm open to that, but it'll be done the way Lucas Oil knows how to do business, the way that we've proven it to be successful for over 20 years, or 25 years. If you think that Jenkins and that group is open to it, we can have a conversation, but right now, as I've expressed, I'm very, very suspect. But I'm more concerned about what diluting our series will do to the position we're in now with CBS. And I go back there mid-July to close this deal. And I want to go back there with the confidence to know that if I represent, I'm going to have a full field of trucks, the best drivers possible, the best venues possible. I'm not blowing smoke. So we are at a crossroads. Setting this Huseman thing aside for a moment, we have to make a decision. We have to decide how we're going to align ourselves and who we're going to support. It's a lot to take in, there's a lot to think about, and there's a lot at stake. What I want to reiterate is Lucas Oil has been here for you for 18 years. Now I'm asking you guys to be here for us when we need you. So, with that said, I'm here all weekend. If someone wants to talk about it further, I'm available. Feel free to reach out to me. If I'm not readily available, talk to Tony, and we can revisit this subject. But this is our position. My statement's not going to change because I am highly suspect of what their true motives are, and I'm very, very cognizant of the harm that it can cause to our series long term. So our position with regards to my first statement that opened this conversation, that will not change. All right, thank you for your time. Good luck this weekend. Everyone be safe.